Hi, Joan.
Good evening and welcome. I'm calling this meeting of the Nevada City Council to order. Today's Wednesday, November 12th, 2025. It is 6:30 p.m. We're going to start with the Nisenan tribe recognition. I've asked my colleague, Daniela Fernandez, to read that for us.
We acknowledge that the Nisenan people are still here among us today, though nearly invisible. They're always on all the time. That is not new. Hello, hello, hello.
Maybe make one of the computers here.
Hello?
Everybody turn off the mic. We should have made this for that.
We always have our mics on all the time.
I know,
That's not anything. And
just turn it off as soon as it stops. It's a Zoom thing.
It's going to be the computer and the microphone.
all right. Check that out. We acknowledge that the Nisenan people are still here among us today, though nearly invisible. We acknowledge that we are on Nisenan land that was never ceded and that the original tribal families have yet to recover from the near genocide of their people. As a resident or visitor in Nisenan land, we support the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe in efforts to stabilize their people as well as their campaign to restore federal recognition.
By which I mean thank you. Would the Vice Mayor like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Deputy City Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Peterson,
Here.
Councilmember Fleming,
Here.
Councilmember Fernandez,
Here.
Vice Mayor Cici,
Here.
Mayor Clyde.
Here. All right, time for the adoption of the agenda. Council, now is the time for any agenda modifications. Would you like to make any additional changes to the agenda, pull consent items, or do we have any recusals to announce? Hearing none, do I have a motion and a second to adopt the agenda?
I move to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Peterson, a second by Councilmember Fernandez. Those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Where's our attorney?
We don't have an attorney tonight. What could possibly go wrong?
I'm on council. Good evening.
Oh, okay. Now I
Do
feel
have an
better.
attorney.
Okay. Somehow feel safer.
Hi, Dean.
Planning on bringing them up?
Good evening, everybody.
You never know.
We have no presentations tonight, so we'll move right on to public comment. Government Code Section 54954.3 provides that any member of the public may address the City Council on any matter not on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. The Brown Act, with limited exceptions, does not allow the council or staff to discuss issues brought forth under public comment. The council cannot take action on non-agenda items. Concerns may be referred to staff or placed on a future agenda. And please note that comments from the public will also be taken on the consent calendar and each agenda item at the time it is heard. You got 3 minutes.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Bob Wright, 537 Coyote Street, Nevada City, which is at the intersection of Alexander and Coyote. So I should probably first just mention about why I thought it was important that we try to get the agenda, and I was kind of aggressive about that. And I don't know that I was right, but when we left the open house meeting with respect to the multimodal, it seemed that it was on a pretty much of a fast-paced track, and we felt that in order to get our issues advanced, that we probably need to have the city take a position that would be an equal partner in the evolution of the process. And the idea that we had was for Coyote Street, was to finally do what we've been asking for about a decade and a half, which would be to come up with a solution for the ever-increasing traffic. We'll deal with that one next month because that'll be on the agenda. But I just wanted you to explain. I just wanted to explain why we've had a sense of urgency whether it was true or not, that was the sense. I also wanted to mention in my 3 minutes that I think you've been the most consequential city council that in my 25 years that I've been here. And you've seen opportunity where the rest of us were fearful of the threats. And the best example that I can give is the 30,000 square foot 5-story building that was hovering over the city looking for a place to land. And I remember the day when somebody said, did you know that the property right next to you is one of the places where it's hovering? And that got me activated in that issue. And collectively, we're successful in having it now hover where it's, I think the community is most comfortable. Obviously, we've got an issue with the Forest Service. We have to figure out how that pesky tenant can get funded to implement their dream, and nobody really knows what's going to happen there. But things look like they've gotten peaceful. The one issue that we heard at the open house was there were a few people apparently at some public meeting that came forward and indicated that they didn't want to be denied access to Coyote Street. And so there was some plans that were to satisfy that. The only ask that I make in terms of due diligence before the next meeting would be to please just try not coming down from Bloomfield or Upper Coyote. Just try going around the corner and come in at 186. I've timed it, it's identical timing, 32 seconds plus or minus 2 seconds. And so I don't think we're asking for a big compromise from the community. And thank you for your time.
Thanks, Bob. Hi, John.
Hi. Good evening. My name is John Vaughn. I own a home at 121 Orchard Street. I lived there for 15 years. My brother Chris has rented the home since 2004. I am in opposition to the planned roundabout at Orchard Street, which is ill-conceived and will aggravate already unsafe conditions on Orchard Street. Orchard is essentially a one-lane road. While there are one-way signs at Highway 49, residents travel both ways. Many residents use on-street parking as they do not have off-street parking, especially on the East Broad Street end, leaving room for one-lane, one-way traffic only. Visitors also use the available on-street parking, further restricting traffic to one lane. Some county employees and visitors currently use Orchard Street as a shortcut to the Rood Center, exacerbating the one-lane constrictions. The roundabout plan makes it easier to use Orchard to get to the Rood Center, which increases safety issues for Orchard residents and visitors. In addition, anyone traveling on Orchard during an emergency will impede emergency vehicles. There are 14 homes on Orchard Street. All 14 have signed a petition in opposition to the current plan. All 14 are in support of isolating Orchard from the roundabout, including a single lane for right turns onto Highway 49 that is not connected to the roundabout. Don Joy, an Orchard homeowner, was told something like, "Your proposal is not feasible as we've already committed all the money." The easiest solution is Don's solution. There's been discussion of blocking Orchard Street at one end, and while that may have a breakaway gate, you have to think about what happens in an emergency that might occur during one of numerous events where East Broad Street is closed, 4th of July parade, et cetera, where you can't get out that end. So if you impede traffic the other way, you're creating a big risk. As I noted in email, I have issues with at least 3 important process steps. Input from Nevada City residents was overstated. No attempt was made to directly inform Orchard residents, and Caltrans has not published traffic or safety studies. It's not the fault of Orchard residents that no communication occurred or that the project is not really accepting public input or the budget is too small. If public input is irrelevant, why bother with the pretense? There are other major issues that need to be addressed. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John.
Hello, my name's Karen Wislow. I live at
Hold the mic there. There you go.
517 Indian Trail up off Cement Hill. Will Hart, the president of Cement Hill, who you has presented to you a number of times, is supposed to be here tonight. He's home with the flu. You're probably glad he's not here breathing on you, but he asked me to come in his place. He has two focuses regarding the issue of the roundabouts on 49, especially where they hit Cement Hill. One is he's very vested in trying to keep the and reinvigorate the scenic corridor that was designated a couple decades ago, I think now, and wanting that to be incorporated in thinking about the look of the roundabout. I personally, going down that road and turning left onto 49 every day, that's a dangerous corner, Cement Hill going on to 49. I look forward to a roundabout, but Will pointed out something that I hadn't considered, and I'm the Firewise lead for our Cement Hill community, and I had not thought about this, but he said currently, although it's one lane, 49 going east, you could, during the wildfire evacuation, you could do 2 lanes, one on the berm and one in the road going east, and still have emergency vehicles going west, okay? If you have a single lane roundabout that has construction restrictions on it, you're only going to be able to do 1 lane. And so you're not going to be able to get people out as fast. And we have close to 800 people up in our community that need to get out there too, as well as everyone else coming up 49. So I'd like you to think about and consider, are there some alternatives to how you do, not that it's your decision how it's going to be, but to consider an evacuation situation and maintaining an ability to have 2 lanes going east to get your community members out. And he, of course, wants it to not look like the 49 roundabouts down by Auburn with the painted red disgusting things. He'd like boulders and plants and something that fits the scenic corridor. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Greg Zeller. I'm building a house up on West Broad, 678 West Broad. 3 seasons ago, Allison Lehman asked me to take on the community garden at the county, and so I did that. And in the first 2 seasons were a little rough, and then I got a book on it, and it about how you build the social aspect of it before you build the garden aspect of it, and I became a big believer in it. It was a lot of fun and brought a lot of people together, and it seems like but right now they're going to take that site back because they're going to use it for a building. So I'm thinking, well, I should make an effort to, it seemed like it would be a great thing to have a community garden in Nevada City somewhere, and I've talked to staff about it, and I think the first thing that I need to do is see if I can find a lot of people that want to do it or not, and if not, then it's not going to work. But if it does work, it would be like a really cool thing. So I'm introducing myself. I'll be hanging around here after the meeting, and hopefully someone will be enthusiastic, and I'll start to build a group. Thanks.
Thanks, Greg.
Hi, my name's Denise DeGrasse, and I live on 358 Alexander Street. My window faces Coyote, and I see people blow through the stop sign all the time. And some of them don't even pause, like they're going fast. And so my neighbors say that when big trucks come on Coyote, their windows shake and break. So it's already a problem, and the plan is directing people from 49 East going onto Coyote. There's going to be a special lane for that. That's going to put more traffic on, and so I guess I'm just coming out against that. And I like the idea of a cul-de-sac for Coyote. I'm for that. Okay, that's it.
Thanks, Denise.
Remington Cox, I live in Nevada City. At the skate park design launch meeting, I saw council members supporting the construction of a recreational facility in the vision of their constituents. Thank you all. Lon Peterson stated that this will be an all-wheels park, one not just for skateboarding. We are building something very different than Grass Valley. Adam Eichhorn shared the results of the skate park survey. The word pump track appeared multiple times. The survey results show most people desire more transition features than street features. I was troubled when Mr. Eichhorn said we probably weren't going to be able to do this. Why was the survey created if the results can't be honored? Evergreen Skate Parks was brought up. They make parks with undulous, bendy terrain, perfect for creating flow for all wheels. This style of park has the momentum carrying potential of a pump track without being linear, taking up less space, meaning it can be ridden with open-ended creativity like a traditional skate park. Mr. Eichhorn stated that a park in this style would be too congested, and that these parks only work in places like Idaho or Montana. In this rural small town, all-wheel sports are popular. This park will be crowded regardless of how it is designed. I suggested that users will have to share and take turns. Mr. Eichhorn said Evergreen Skate Parks sculpt terrain on the fly, and that Spone Ranch uses AutoCAD. AutoCAD is capable of designing curved transition features. I've skated a Spone Ranch pump track in San Diego that has exactly the flowy style that our survey results ask for. I'm worried we're going to get a mini version of the street-focused skate park coming to Grass Valley. They're making a park with hard lines, stairs, rails, and a steep bowl with a gold pan feature. It embodies the thrashy, industrialized nature of the gold rush. It's going to be sick, but we should do something different. Let's embody the curvaceous beauty of the Yuba River. Make big bumps and bankable curves that mimic the smooth, undulous boulders of Hoyt's Crossing. Create flowy transition options that can be carved through without losing momentum. Build elements that roll and flow together like the waters of the Yuba. Please honor the survey results. The public has asked for more transition features than street features. We're using funding meant to keep kids sober. We must build a park that is approachable, one kids can have fun and develop their skills in. A pump track style park with predominantly transition features accomplishes this by lowering the barrier for entry, not just for kids, but for all ages and for all wheels. Look at the smaller parks made by Evergreen Skate Parks to see what I mean. And for the record, I do love you all. Thank you for supporting this project. Have a great night.
Thanks, Remington.
You're so good and right on the minute every time.
Undulous, he says.
No, wait, isn't that
Any
a cow?
other public comment?
So you gonna stay around?
Should I?
Yeah, I'll talk to you afterwards.
I'll be here.
Okay.
If there's no other public comment, we'll move on. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. Before we take action on the consent calendar, we will hear any public comment on consent calendar items only. Do we have any public comment on these items? Hearing none. I'm looking for a motion and a second.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We got a motion from Councilmember Fernandez and a second from Vice Mayor Sisi. Any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. All right. Now we've got a public hearing. The City Council, when considering the matter scheduled for hearing, will take the following actions. Open the public hearing, presentation by staff, presentation by applicant or appellant, accept public testimony, applicant or appellant rebuttal period, close the public hearing, council comments and questions, council action. Once the hearing is closed, no further public comment will be taken. If you wish to challenge in court any of the matters on this agenda for which a public hearing is to be conducted, you may be limited to raising only those issues which you or someone else raised orally at the public hearing or in written correspondence received by the city at or before the public hearing. Public hearings listed for continuance will be continued as noted, and posting of this agenda serves as notice of continuance. All right, so we're conducting a public hearing in consideration of ordinance. I've got a blank on this, but yeah. An ordinance of the City of Nevada City, the City Council of the City of Nevada City, State of California, repealing Chapter 13.12, backflow prevention, and replacing it with a new Chapter 13.12, also backflow prevention, in Title 13, Public Services, of the City of Nevada City Municipal Code, relating to cross-connection control standards for backflow protection and cross-connection control. Hi, Brian.
Very good. Good evening. So this is a replacement of the chapter pertaining to backflow prevention for water protection, and it's it's to bring our code in compliance with state regulations, and so there can be cross connections that can occur that could contaminate the city's water supply, and it could come from fire sprinkler lines, it could come from swimming pools. There's a lot of different things that could happen that could contaminate our city's water supply. So there's backflow devices, there's air gaps with some plumbing fixtures, and there's just a lot of things that can be done to prevent that from occurring. So that's the purpose of this municipal code revision, is just to replace that entire chapter, bring it up to code. So this is the first reading, and we'll present it again at the next meeting for second reading and adoption.
Great, thanks, Brian.
Sure.
Is anyone else presenting on this, Joan? No one else is presenting on this, just Brian?
Just fine.
All right. Now's the part where we accept public testimony. Does anyone have anything to say about this? All right. Closing the public hearing.
Right. Thank you, Brian. This is a technical update, not a policy shift. So I think that anything that strengthens our defense against water contamination and protects us all is fantastic. So let's do it.
And we don't have a choice but to do this because it's state law, and we're coming in compliance with update to state law, which is always in our best interest, I'm sure.
Correct.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, this is just a regulatory update. Obviously we don't want contamination, and the state's mandating it, so we don't have a choice. So thank you. What?
I was going to say, we don't have a choice, but also it hasn't been updated since 1988 when I was 8 years old, so I think it's okay. 8 years old.
You were only 8, unbelievable. I was a wise old man of 10.
Okay.
Brian, so what does this mean practically for our citizens here? For folks who, I think I've got backflow set up on my house and stuff, but for folks who don't, what do you suppose that's going to run them, and how can we assist them in that?
Well, there's requirements also for us to monitor backflow devices, and this isn't the sewer backflows. This is water backflows, like the big red pipes that you see with a backflow device for fire sprinklers. It's that type of backflow that we need to start inspecting. Annual inspections. We have to have a cross-connection control specialist, a consultant, help us with compliance and annual inspections. So the state's just ratcheting up the requirements for that.
But it is always required a certification in order to
Yeah,
them, right?
yeah, exactly.
Who's going to do those inspections?
We're using a consultant in Roseville, All Pro Backflow.
Okay. I mean, it's right there in their name. I feel like they probably know what they're talking about.
All pro backflow.
Is there any increased cost to constituents for testing or anything?
Yeah, there will be increased cost, and I don't yet know what the cost would be. The owners actually have to pay for inspection of a private system. And then the city has to pay for inspection to make sure the city as a whole is in compliance. Yeah, so it's a combination of,
But
it's,
this will increase the cost a little bit to our constituents, right?
yeah, it would be.
Okay, are they gonna scream?
Like this particular building would have to get inspected. The city would have to pay for its own inspection on this building?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's not for households,
Not for
correct?
households.
no,
Right.
it's for commercial businesses.
They're still our constituents, so I didn't say
No,
residents.
yeah.
I
Not arguing
said-
that.
I said
But it's-
Just wanted
constituents.
to, just
It's
wanted
somewhat
to be clear.
unavoidable, it's
I
unavoidable because of
understand
the,
that, I understand. I just wanted to know if it did increase costs. Thank you.
yeah.
So do we need to hold first reading? So, okay. That's it. This is a hearing.
Yeah, all we would need is a motion and a second to read by title only and roll call vote following that.
I move that we read it by title.
I'll second that.
So prior to the vote, this is an ordinance 2025 as assigned, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Nevada City, State of California, repealing Chapter 13.12, backflow prevention, and replacing it with a new Chapter 13.12, backflow prevention in Title 13, Public Services of the City of Nevada City Municipal Code, relating to cross-connection control standards for backflow protection and cross-connection control. A roll call would be appropriate at this point.
Thank you, Dean. We had a motion from the vice mayor and a second from Mr. Fleming. So we'll do a roll call vote. Amber?
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Councilmember Fernandez?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cici?
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
On to business. Business item 10, consideration of the South Yuba River Citizens League request for monetary sponsorship or fee waiver in the amount of $2,500, fee waiver of $525 for city facility use, and special event street closure request for the 2026 Wild and Scenic Film Festival. Howdy.
All right, good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council, Lon Peterson, City Manager, here to bring this item forward for consideration for Circle for a sponsorship or fee waiver in the amount of $2,500 and the fee waiver of $525 for City Hall use, as well as granting the street closure for the 2026 Wild and Scenic Film Festival. Joining me tonight is Eric Dunn, who's the director, and he'll be kind of highlighting that particular event. Eric?
Thank you, Lon. Greetings, esteemed city council members. Like Lon mentioned, I'm the director of Wild and Scenic Film Festival. And first, I just wanted to raise a hands on who saw the Northern Lights last night. Anyone?
I read about it.
Oh, missed it. All right. I was
Only by
hoping there'd be a
photo.
couple because it kind of struck me as the feeling of the experiencing of the joy of natural wonders is one of the many feelings that people take away from Wild and Scenic Film Festival. And I'm happy to be here again on the precipice of the 24th annual event put on by Circle, the South Yuba River Citizens League. The event was named in honor of Circle obtaining Wild and Scenic designation for 39 miles of the South Yuba River Citizens League. And the program helps to support the work that Circle does throughout the Yuba River watershed to protect and restore the river. And in fact, 2026 marks the 25th anniversary of Circle obtaining that designation for the Yuba River. The festival brings in over 7,000 attendees now to our area, and with many of those being Nevada County students who get to participate in a field trip to the Del Oro and experience films in a theater. The festival now has an economic impact of over $900,000. That's up from $700,000 just a year ago, and serves as a funnel for bringing visitors to the region during what's traditionally a slower period of time. Wild and Scenic garners the attention of media. Just last year, CBS came up and did a few-minute piece about town and the festival that ran on TV. And Vicky Gonzalez was here serving on a panel, and also we were featured on Insight on Capital Public Radio. So this event is one that brings awareness to the area, not only in our region, but then we have our On Tour program that goes around the country throughout the year to 120 plus communities, reaching 40 plus thousand people. And they all know that the home of that event is here in Nevada City. This year, our flagship event will occur in February, the 19th through the 23rd. And we're excited to be hosting over 100 environmental and adventure films, bringing inspiration and impactful stories, as well as dozens of filmmakers from around the globe to our small town. Our 2026 theme is Mobilize, which is a call to action and a celebration of the movement and process towards tangible change. Once again, the fest is set for a return to both Grass Valley and Nevada City, with a focus on programming in Nevada City, where we'll be screening at 3 venues: Nevada Theater, Oddfellows, and of particular note, our return to the beloved Miners Foundry. Yeah, we are especially excited to be returning to the Foundry after a couple of years away. We plan to host both film screenings there in Osborne Woods, as well as hosting our festival headquarters in the Stone Hall. So everyone who comes into town will be coming through Miners Foundry and getting to experience that building. We'll also be returning here to the council chambers for our activist center, as well as to Pine Street for the Enviro Fair. As always, in addition to the stellar film programming, we'll be offering many free community events, including workshops here at the Activist Center, excursions to local trails, an art exhibition in partnership with the Nevada County Arts Council. We're excited to have a special exhibition this year over at the Rood Center as well, with a retrospective about art involved with wild and scenic over the years. And I was going to call out one of the field trips I'm especially excited about is going to be our snail hunting field trip. It features a scientist that's featured in the film Snail Hunters. She'll be coming fresh off another expedition to the Galapagos, and we'll be here the next day and doing our snail hunting expedition.
Awesome.
And so, yeah, we'll have lots of awesome, intimate coffee talks at Three Forks, budget-friendly locals night, youth programming, the return of our virtual reality experience. And we'll also be hosting immersive art experience from our 2026 official artist, a book presentation from the executive director of the Banff Mountain Film Festival, and all sorts of other wonderful programming. And so thank you all again for the continued support of this event. It means a lot, and we couldn't do it without the community. And with the 2026 theme of Mobilize in mind, we kindly request you to take action to support this special event and mobilize on our requests.
Thanks, Eric. Mobilize. Nice, thank you.
Any public comments on this item? Okay.
If I could.
Please.
I have a proposal, the kind that makes city managers like fall out of their chairs and stuff. No, I think given the Foundry and the use of the Foundry and what we're looking at, I actually would propose that we bump our sponsorship up to the $5,000 mark, make the $2,500 contribution that we would normally make, and then reduce the cost of the use of the Foundry by $2,500. And if that's okay with you guys, then we will get 4 passes, so we don't have to fight for the 2 passes.
I second that.
Maybe 5 passes.
But it just seems, because of the way the Foundry's coming back into it, and the way that we control the costs on that, and the desire of the community to make the Foundry a centerpiece for our community, and that this does that, I just think that makes a lot of sense, but that's just me.
I second that amendment. I think, Eric, I'm a super fan of the festival. I've had the honor of being a judge. I've co-hosted a coffee talk. I've hosted a session. It's things like Wild and Scenic that help make Nevada City who we are. And I think, there's people that week that come to Nevada City, not just from all over the country, but from all over the world. I've met the most exciting people that I'm still in contact with. And I think that, the whole festival is asking us to discuss and consider some of the most pressing issues of our time, the environment and activism. And so I support an amendment to up the sponsorship.
I too believe that this is one of the gems of Nevada City. I would like us to consider in the future lowering the cost for the economically disadvantaged so that they can be more fully participant in this. Right now, it's a wonderful festival. I do get my money's worth when I pay, but I can afford to. So I'd like to see a little effort done in that direction.
Thank you, Lou. That's a good comment.
Yeah, like everybody says, Wild Citic's part of our identity, and driving almost $1 million in, economic impact, I think that you guys bring a lot to the table for a small financial ask, and even at twice the price, I think it's money well spent. So thank you.
Mr. Dunn, I want to apologize for my colleague's lack of enthusiasm for your event. When you have an opportunity to meet and listen to a jet-lagged snail hunter, you gotta snap that up. I've always said that, and now finally it makes some sense. I liked Mr. Peterson's amendment. Shall we have a roll call vote on that?
I think we need a motion.
Or I need a motion second. Sorry about that.
Dean's got something.
Motion.
Motion in a second.
What's up, Dean?
No, that was it. Motion and second.
I didn't understand.
We need a motion in a second.
Okay.
Yeah, that was all, just a motion and a second. Thank you.
Would someone?
I move that we consider the South Yuba River Citizens League request for monetary sponsorship and waiver in the amount of $5,000, fee waiver in the amount of, is it still $525?
No, it is a contribution of $2,500 and a fee waiver of $2,500 for a total of $5,000, which would take us to the Chinook salmon level of.
Chinook salmon, God, that's great.
He knows his stuff.
He does.
I just did my homework.
Facility use and special event street. You got to read the rest of the title.
Second.
Dean?
Dean, are we good?
We are good.
All right.
Okay.
Lord have mercy.
Roll call, please. Sorry.
Councilmember Peterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming,
Yes.
Councilmember Fernandez,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cici,
Yes.
Mayor Klein.
Yes. Thanks, Eric.
Thanks.
Is that good? Are we good?
We're good? Yeah. You're looking good.
Thank you.
Nice touch, Gary. Nice touch,
No,
Gary.
it's
That's fair, certainly fair.
well, especially as we control the foundry and, it's.
And they're revitalizing it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's great. And they left, there's reasons they left the foundry.
We're all aware.
If we use it, they will come.
Business item number 11, request from Sierra Streams Institute for contribution of $5,000 and for authorization to install permanent sign near the Pine Street Bridge,
Now we're going to have to double this.
as well as a temporary educational sign near Little Deer Creek and Pioneer Park. Hello.
So I'll start off with staff background. So as indicated, Sierra Streams is asking for consideration of a $5,000 contribution to essentially honor its long-term commitment to the city, 30 years plus of monitoring Little Deer Creek, particularly as it comes through Pioneer Park, at no cost to the city. And Jeff Lauder, who is the executive director of Sierra Streams, is here to add additional information to that. The sign that, well, let me back up and say that the monitoring has been really important to the city over the years because it has allowed us, when there have been elevated E. coli readings, to post the streams so that we don't have people in the water and being exposed. The request to erect a permanent sign near the Pine Street Bridge would commemorate where that work began 30 years ago, and recognize contributors who have contributed $10,000 or more. The temporary sign would be in place in the park for 6 weeks prior to the May 16th anniversary celebration, 30-year anniversary celebration, and recognize sponsors of $5,000 or more. As I looked at this request, I thought, we have a really important component of our park system and the safety for our residents. And I recommend that the council consider the contribution of $5,000, authorize the placement of the permanent sign, waive any sign fees. We would require that the sign go through the regular review that we would normally
Planning
do.
commission? The signs go through?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I needed to know.
Yes, and, and also to authorize the placement of the temporary 6-week sign. With that, I turn it over to Jeff for any additional information that is important for you to know.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. As she said, we've been monitoring water quality, forest health, kind of all aspects of environmental health in Deer Creek for more than 30 years. Quite frankly, I think we've had a pretty quiet presence in the past, just kind of went about our business doing our monitoring and doing our science and trying to make sure data was put into the hands of people where it mattered most. And more recently, we're trying to kind of get our name out there about the work that we've been doing, kind of as stewards and monitors of Deer Creek, Bear River, and then now actually through the Delta Research Council, we're monitoring climate change impacts on watersheds from the Pitt River down to the Stanislaus River. So we are kind of a scientific support system for the community here. We have the only nonprofit water quality lab in the community. We actually offer free water sampling. People can bring well samples into us. We can test for bacteria, nitrates, things like that. And then really just our mission is just to put science in the hands of the community, inform people what science is, what it's not, and make sure that yeah, people have clean water, healthy watersheds, and good data to make decisions off of. So would love the support from the city, not just based on the prior monitoring, but also to kind of help us get the word out there at our Sierra Streams Fest in the spring. This is going to be an event that is trying to connect people to science through art around Deer Creek specifically, around the resources that we have here. And then one of the interesting things at Sierra Streams, it's unique to us, is we have the only benthic macroinvertebrate lab, which is stream bugs. If you're a fly fisher, then you're familiar with these guys. These guys aren't that exciting. They're not very cute, but we're trying to get people to get familiar with them, that they are cute, they're important, they're indicators of stream health. So coming to engage with us on that and learn about how these are kind of our canaries in the coal mine for stream health in our region. So would love the city's support in acknowledging our 30 years and being a partner and sponsor of the event as well.
Any public comment on this? Okay. Table?
Sure. You guys have saved us thousands and thousands of dollars over 30 years. You're not, 30 times 3,000, what's that? That's a lot of money, right? So this is the least we can do to recognize, like you say, this partnership that, has gone on for a long time. I think healthy streams mean healthy parks, mean healthy residents. So,
100%.
I don't see any way we can turn this down.
Which end of the bridge are you planning to put the sign on?
On the west side. There's a couple other plaques over there already, but essentially the origins of Sierra Streams Institute were right below that west side of the bridge. We're trying to acknowledge that origin.
So the west side and the north end?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, where Tribulation Trail comes through.
Yeah. No, I was just concerned about the signs. That's, because we get touchy about signs in this town. So I just want to make sure they went through the process. Other thing, though, I just wanted to flag. This came up interestingly through, everything's connected, but, Theo sits on the Fire Safety Advisory Committee. And one of the things that we learned, and I knew this because I live right on Little Deer Creek, right across the parking lot from the tennis courts. And I know a lot of work has been done there over the years, but somehow that connection between the city and the work that was done was broken. So there was some staff doing clearing and cleaning and brush removal that may have undone or not been appropriate for the design that had been put in place originally in the planting when Deer Creek was revised. And so that piece of communication was not transmitted. And so we need to do something to prevent, and it's really going to be a stronger connection between the city and the Institute.
Absolutely.
So that we understand and we don't make those errors again. And I think
100%.
I think that's just a really important thing, and I just wanted to flag that.
Absolutely. No, I'd love to come give updates to you guys on the work that we're doing and make sure we're staying tied in with those kinds of things. Yeah.
It's important. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for being here. Thank you for asking. And thank you to Sierra Streams for your service for the last 30 years and your commitment to a healthy watershed and also commitment to community science. Really appreciate that. Can you tell us a little bit, you said, generally tracking the contamination sources costs about $3,000 annually. Can you just tell us a little bit about that process and like where that $3,000 goes, just to give some context?
Absolutely. So the monitoring that we do all over Deer Creek and the Bear River is part of our what we call baseline monitoring. So we're going out and sampling the same sites repeatedly, historically monthly, recently it's quarterly, over time. And what that does is it gives us an indication of what's the average. We can't detect change or negative impacts unless we know what's happening without those impacts. So we do the baseline monitoring, and then when we get spikes of, for example, bacteria or nitrate or phosphate or whatever the contaminant is, we'll go back and double check where was that spike, what's a potential source, and then we'll go out and do targeted monitoring to then try to pick up on what was the potential source of that contaminant. So E. coli we're monitoring at 3 sites on Deer Creek, and then when we get hits at, usually it's the middle site, which is below the bridge, then we'll go up and double check our data. Are we getting that above the bridge as well? And then if not, we'll go back and do targeted monitoring, multiple samples to see, is it still in the water column? Where is it appearing? How often? And then we'll also go out and do storm sampling, because it's typically when we get big flushes of bacteria, or in the summer when we get less water, less dilution, more bacteria. And so we do targeted sampling in those seasons. So it's staff time to go out and collect those samples. And then in-house, we bring the water back to our lab. And there's a process we go through where we're sealing it in these interesting little trays and incubating it to incubate the bacteria, and then using a UV light to see if it fluoresces, which tells us how much E. coli is there. And all of those supplies add up, basically. We have reagents, we have growth media for the bacteria, and then we have the cost of running our lab instruments.
Great. Thank you for laying that out and helping me understand. And also, I just want to note, Wild and Scenic before this is sort of like the outward facing, like, cool, this is Nevada City, but also like, cool, this is Nevada City too, like undercover, right? And
Absolutely.
so happy to support that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I join my colleagues in thanking you for the important work you do. I just have a thought on the signs. I'm just trying to think of if there's another place in town where a nonprofit's got signage on public property listing donors and stuff. I feel like I'd be more moved by a sign that talks about what it is you do, how people can get involved, as opposed to a list of names, which, the people looking, it'll just be people looking for their own names on there. If there's not a precedent for it, that's not a precedent I'm really looking to set. But I'm happy to be educated if there's spots around town where that already exists, and fair enough. But again, thank you for the great work you do.
Yeah, thank you. And absolutely, we're like we mentioned, this is kind of just to pitch the idea of the sign, and absolutely wanting to bring the sign proposal itself back for more revision and discussion on details. Yeah.
Well, you will have to.
Yes, exactly.
It's a fun process.
Yeah, very fun.
Do I have a motion to authorize?
I move that we approve the contribution to the Sierra Stream Institute.
I second.
Great. We got a motion from Peterson, a second from Fernandez. Roll call.
Councilmember Peterson?
Oh, Joan.
I'm sorry.
Does that motion also include waiving of any fees?
Includes waiving of sign fees.
Thank you.
Second.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Councilmember Fernandez?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cici?
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Say hi to everybody. Business item 12, receive an update on the Zion Sacramento pedestrian and bicycle mobility plan. It's our friend Brian McAllister.
All right, this is an update on a Zion Sacramento pedestrian and bicycle mobility plan. And we've, with a lot of large transportation projects, we work with Nevada County Transportation Commission, because they're our local regional transportation authority that helps get funds from federal highways and the state, Caltrans. And so this corridor, Zion and Sacramento, used to be a highway, and it's a little wider than other streets, and so there's more opportunity to make it more pedestrian and bike friendly. And so we're fortunate to have NCTC's help with funding for a study, and the study is still in the works. There's been 2 workshops, and so the study isn't in a presentation form. That's why it wasn't included in your packet. But we're here tonight to provide a presentation with the consultant who's been helping with these workshops. And we've been getting a lot of good feedback from the community on different ideas to improve safety and access, mobility. And it's important because there's 3 schools on that corridor, and there's SPD and California Organics. There's just a lot of uses, and along with residents. And then there's connectivity that can be improved through the schools, and that that intersects some neighborhoods. So there's a lot of important conversations. So I'll introduce Aaron Hoyt. Sure, you can come on up. And Mike Woodman is also here with NCTC.
Good evening.
Sorry.
Did I just break it? It's a little wonky. Okay. Good evening, Mayor and council members. I just want to share a few thoughts before we jump into the presentation. So Brian introduced me, Deputy Executive Director for Nevada County Transportation Commission, but also helping manage this project. It's as really a joint partnership between the city and NCTC to realize a longstanding vision that I think the city and the communities had on making Zion Street more walkable and bikeable for individuals of all ages and abilities within the corridor. And especially for parents who might consider letting their kids ride to school or bike to school. Being able to do so without the escort of a bike bus. And no knock to the bike bus program. There's a lot of great committed school and community volunteers on that. We're not trying to replace it, but can it happen a little more often than just every other Friday? So with that, we understand that these conversations have been, probably around for at least a decade, spanning multiple councils, spanning, prior grant application attempts to really try to build something in this corridor. And so this iteration was kind of at the gentle, nudging of Brian here and one of NCTC's commissioners, Dwayne Strasser, to try to find some money to get this project rolling again. And so we were able to secure a planning grant study to get this ball rolling again, or these bikes rolling again. And really what the study is to to document the community
Transportation joke.
Yes, I know. Transportation planners are funny. I know. So what we like to do with the study is build the foundation to eventually secure a grant and document the community engagement and the preferences for what type of bicycle facilities should be built within Sacramento and Zion Street corridor. How do we calm traffic in the corridor? That's one of the concerns that we've heard. And what's the best way to accommodate students walking and biking to school to the 3 schools that Brian mentioned. And so tonight, what we want to do is summarize through the presentation what we've heard from the participants of the workshops, the concepts that are being considered, and of course, if there's any direction that you'd like to provide to us on how to fine-tune these concepts that are being considered and move forward with a preferred concept, that would be helpful in terms of kind of moving this project along. But at the end, our collective efforts of all this work, and of course, with the blessing of the council, would be to submit a grant application to the statewide active transportation program in June 2026. And that's assuming we can bring a proposal to you that embodies what the community wants and meets your desires. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Emily Shandy from GHD to present to you.
Thanks. She is.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Great. I'm seeing thumbs up and hearing you. I'll go ahead and share my screen. As Aaron mentioned, we do have a brief presentation put together. Let me know if you can all see that as well.
Turn the volume up just a little bit.
Yes, we see it.
We can see it.
Beautiful picture of SPD.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you again, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. I'm happy to be here this evening. Wish I could be there in the room for you, though. You guys sound like a fun group. I'll move through this pretty quickly, but I'm happy to back up or answer any questions at any point, but I want to be respectful of everyone's time there. So the purpose of this project, as Aaron noted, is to look at making it safer and more comfortable for children and families to walk and bike on this corridor. So we're looking at Zion Street between Ridge Road and Sacramento, Sacramento Street from Zion to Pine, and then connections to both Deer Creek and Seven Hills Middle School. We reviewed the existing conditions on the corridor and did some analysis to make sure that we started with an understanding of what the transportation landscape out there today is. So we looked at the past planning efforts that have been done, the community context that's there, what the existing transportation facilities are, safety concerns, and took a look at the on-street parking inventory as well. Considering the new Assembly Bill 413, the daylighting law that just went into effect this year, where there's going to need to be some on-street parking eliminated to bring the corridor into compliance with that law, that creates opportunities for this corridor study to look at things like curb extensions and other traffic calming measures. We found that there are sidewalks on both sides of the corridor for Zion and Sacramento today, but they're narrow. They're often obstructed by utility poles. There's some accessibility concerns with the lack of ramps on those sidewalks. There aren't any existing bicycle facilities as well. So where the bikes are out there, where the bike bus is running, they're just in the street mixing with traffic, which may not be comfortable for younger children, less experienced bicyclists. There is a bus route along the corridor with bus stops that need to be considered. Thankfully, there was only one collision recorded during the study period that we looked at, and it did not involve a bicyclist or a pedestrian. And the highest utilized on-street parking that we would look at preserving with the highest priority as we go into this study is on between Providence Mine and Doane, and then between Argyle Way and Walrus on the east side there. We've done quite a bit of community engagement on this project. We've had a project advisory committee that's provided some strategic guidance to us, helping us think through the strategy, the plan development, and what alternative concepts they wanted to see us develop and bring to the community. We had a first workshop in March. We had about 35 people there to tell us about their existing concerns and challenges on the corridor. And then we just had our second workshop a couple of weeks ago on October 23rd, where we brought some alternatives to the community and asked them to chat amongst themselves and let us know which concepts they like, what their concerns were, and see if they could reach consensus. I'll have more on that in a minute. Then we've also had online engagement opportunities to make sure that we're capturing feedback from anyone who isn't able to come out and join us in person. We've got a website that has all the project information on it. It has opportunities for them to share their thoughts, ask questions, get in touch with the project team. In that first round of outreach, we heard from the community a desire for continuous and accessible pedestrian networks of both sidewalks and crossings, cleaning up some of the conflicts at key intersections, both between vehicles and bikes and peds, and between vehicles and other vehicles where there's yielding concerns and site, visibility issues. Making sure we're providing low stress bicycling routes that are appropriate for kids, reducing vehicle speeds along the Sacramento and Zion Street corridors, keeping on-street parking where we need to, and then making sure that we're preserving community amenities in the character of the corridor. So we prepared some design concepts and took them to the community at that workshop a couple of weeks ago. We laid out alternatives for Zion Street, for Sacramento, for some traffic calming, and then for the school access to the Seven Hills and Deer Creek west of the corridor. We laid that all out, and then we asked folks to sit down around tables and engage with their neighbors and other members of their community and look through the whole corridor kind of piece by piece, alternative by alternative, and talk through their concerns, their priorities. I'm worried about this, in this area, but you have a different opinion, and see how close we could get to consensus in those small groups, and then ask them to report out. So we had 4 tables complete that exercise, almost 30 attendees there with members of the project team. It was a really wonderful evening. We were really happy to have everyone there, as well as Councilmember Peterson. Appreciated you being there as well. So here's what we heard. For Zion Street, there was pretty clear consensus around providing protected bikeways on Zion Street. So that's a bicycle facility that provides one-way bicycle travel on each side of the street, like a bicycle lane that you're probably familiar with, but it's physically protected from the travel lane. So in this case, looking at placing that between on-street parking and the sidewalk so that the bicyclists are physically separated from moving cars by parked cars. That physical separation could include raising the bikeway above street level. So you'd have the street with the parking and then a curb up to the bikeway and then a second curb up to the sidewalk. Or the bikeway could be kept at street level with just the parking providing the protection there. The community likes that this keeps separate bicycle and pedestrian facilities, you know, for each mode. And liked that we're going to keep most of the on-street parking here, although we may look at removing it in some places, again, either where we need to come into compliance with that daylighting law or where it's less utilized and we might want to use that, that space in the corridor for some other things like landscaping or keeping other amenities. This does use pretty much the full right-of-way. So as Brian mentioned, this was formerly a state highway. It's quite wide out there, about 65 feet, give or take, through the corridor. And so if we keep on-street parking on both sides, the cross-section for this does use most of that room, which leaves not much room for anything else. The concepts that the community liked less for Zion Street included a shared use path on one side of the street, which would be both bicyclists and pedestrians. They really wanted to keep those separate and they really preferred directional bicycle travel. So keeping, you know, northbound bicyclists on the northbound side, southbound on the southbound side, for easier transitions at each end of the project because we are looking at just a limited corridor here. We also looked at more conventional bike lanes that are placed between the travel lane and the on-street parking and heard from the community that didn't seem to provide the level of separation and comfort that they felt would be appropriate for children and families. For Sacramento Street, a relatively similar concept, so a strong preference to do directional bikeways on both sides of the street. There's only on-street parking kind of formally on one side of Sacramento Street. We could look at putting the bike lane on that side between the parking and the sidewalk, like we're looking at for Zion. So that would provide physical protection and separation for the bikeways where there's that on-street parking that we can use. And it would keep that on-street parking and keep consistency with the Zion Street corridor, then having those directional bikeways on each side. The other concept we looked at for Sacramento Street was a shared use path that we proposed on the north or kind of west side of that street. Community was less excited about that idea. There's some pretty significant grade challenges there. Again, they preferred keeping bikes and peds separate, preferred keeping that consistency with Zion Street. So they prefer that directional, you know, bike lanes on each side of the street. To calm traffic, we're looking at implementing some raised islands at Ridge Road and Zion Street where there's painted triangles out there today, turning those into actual raised islands with the crosswalks that would pass through them. So they provide a protected waiting area for pedestrians, shorten those crossings to kind of one lane at a time, and reduce the potential for conflicts when pedestrians are exposed over such long crossings there. At Zion Street and Sacramento Street, looking at a mini traffic circle at that intersection to help calm traffic, clean up yielding concerns at that intersection as well, making sure that we're still providing good crossings on all of those legs. And then throughout the corridor, looking at things like curb extensions, potentially raised crosswalks that would provide both better visibility for pedestrians, especially short ones like you get in your schools. By keeping those pedestrians elevated as they cross the street helps them be more visible to cars, as well as providing that speed bump effect when vehicles travel over the raised crosswalk. For school access, this was the one area that we heard the least consensus from the community at the workshop. So still quite open-ended in our discussion of what the plan will include for these areas. We've been looking at 4 kind of pieces of the school access conversation. So one would be implementing what we're calling an advisory shoulder on Reward Street that I'll have a slide on in a moment. One would be improving the fire road that accesses the back of Seven Hills Middle School from the Heilman Court and Reward Street intersection. One would be extending a shared use path, so again, bicyclists and pedestrians sharing space, but off-road all the way around the outside of Seven Hills Middle School, parallel to Hoover Lane on school district property down to Deer Creek Elementary School. And then also looking at implementing a shared use path to replace the existing sidewalk on Dome. Reward Street advisory shoulder would be a painted shoulder stripe on each side of Reward. That's a pretty narrow street. It's got, you know, mature trees and homes on both sides. And we wanted to be respectful of the neighbors there who have concerns about that being used by so much vehicle traffic as a drop off and pickup. So by doing this, it makes it a little bit safer and more visible for people walking and bicycling, and hopefully makes it a little less attractive as a place for parents to drive and drop off their students. But this would function with people walking and bicycling in the shoulder on each side of the street, and then vehicles sharing that center lane as a yield street. So cars traveling in both directions would use that center lane. When they do approach an oncoming car, then they would merge into the shoulder and move around the vehicle safely. On Doan, a shared use path would replace that existing sidewalk on the north side. That would be a 10-foot wide path shared by people walking and bicycling, help folks get from the Zion Street corridor up to Deer Creek. So the next steps that we're looking at, we are still collecting community input through our website through the end of this week. As Aaron mentioned, NCTC is looking at an ATP application, which typically those are due in June when the call for projects comes out, so summer of 2026. So we're looking at wrapping up this planning effort early next year, having the final plan ready for adoption in the spring. And of course, we'll be back to, you know, share more thoughts in the final concept with you then and continue getting your input. But I am happy to answer any questions that you might have, revisit anything in the presentation, or hear any direction that you might have on any of the concepts I presented and what you might recommend as a preferred concept to develop further as we move into the final planning stages.
Thanks so much.
Who's first?
Public comment.
Do we have any public comment on this matter? No, we don't. You want to go, Doug?
Sure. One of the things I love as somebody who knows ATP is there are 3 schools involved. So that's like gold for ATP. You know, you're making this about kid safety, you're reducing vehicle congestion during drop off and pickup, which is gold, and you're basing it on safe routes to school concepts, which obviously goes well. So I love that. As far as the crosswalks go, I'd love us to see some creative crosswalks, something with some artistic design there. I love the raised crosswalks, that's important, but I think we could get the Arts Council involved and do some kind of, you know, artistic project on that. It would be really nice to beautify that street a little bit more with some art. Then I have a question for our consultant. As far as when you're saying this is what we're hearing and this is what we're hearing most, is that based on the feedback you got from the 2 in-person sessions, or is that based on the surveys as well?
In terms of the kind of first phase of outreach that we did in the spring, it's based on both. So we had a pretty good attendance at our in-person workshop that we did, as well as quite a bit of input online. In terms of looking at the alternative concepts that were presented and the consensus that we're hearing, that has largely come through the one workshop that was held. The online tool has been open for a week and a half so far and has had pretty limited engagement so far. The few comments that have come in online, though, have been generally supportive, not really deviating from what we heard at the workshop. So that's been fairly consistent.
Excellent. Well, you know, I think that the goal here is to make this safe for 8-year-olds and 80-year-olds. And, you know, I love the protected bike lane. I mean, if we can get away with doing that, that's huge. And then there's a refuge area, I guess, at Ridge Road that you're talking about, the triangle. That's going to be a refuge area, right?
Yes, let me go back to that slide for a minute if I can get there. So at Ridge Road and Zion Street, at that offset intersection today, there are some painted areas, kind of triangles between those right turn lanes and the through lanes for vehicles. But as a pedestrian, you're still exposed and out in the open today. So on the screen here where you can see the lighter gray kind of triangle areas, those would actually be 6-inch curb, raised median islands. So they would help both slow down cars traveling through that area because they would have to drive through something that has a curb on both sides, right? Tends to make drivers slow down and pay a little bit more attention. And as a pedestrian, when you enter, the area between two of those raised islands in a crosswalk, it's wide enough that you have space to stop there and wait for a gap in the next lane of traffic that you're trying to cross. So it lets them negotiate those longer crossings, kind of one piece at a time with a safe place to wait each time.
Excellent. That is a dangerous intersection. So let's talk about the mini roundabout. We got a whole roundabout situation going on 49 that's causing some concern for people just because they don't know about roundabouts. I'm a big roundabout fan. We're having some problems with roundabouts on R49. And so is this a thing really, or is this just a concept at this point? Are you looking for feedback on that, or is this probably going to be part of that? I don't imagine that there are a lot of people giving feedback on the roundabout, are they? Yeah.
We've actually heard pretty enthusiastic support.
Supportive?
It's just a
Okay, good.
Yes,
It's a rough
support.
spot.
It is a concept at this point. It's all conceptual at this point, and there are some design details that we'll need to work out with things like driveways. There are a lot of residential driveways on it's the top of this graphic, but the west side of Zion Street there. So making sure that access to those properties is maintained, and then making sure that we're also preserving access for the vehicles that do need to move along that Zion Street, Sacramento Street, and make that left turn. And so that's something that if this is the direction that our team is given to, pursue this, develop this concept further, we will start to answer those questions and figure out what's feasible within those kind of design parameters that we're given.
Excellent, thank you. And then one last question. As far as the section from like where Zion starts in front of Forest Charter, sort of that whole Forest Charter stretch, there's a crosswalk at the intersection where it turns from Sacramento into Zion, and then there's a crosswalk down at the other end of Forest Charter property. There's soccer fields there. I lived right across the street for a number of years, and people cross in mid-block. Everybody comes across that street. And so is there any chance we could do a mid-block crossing there? Just if people cross, it would help kids slow down. You don't like that, Gary?
Death.
Well,
Mid-block crosswalks are an accident waiting to happen.
Well, I'd rather have, people have to slow down than kids getting crushed,
That's why you
and
don't
I've
put
seen
them in
that.
the middle.
I've seen that. Well, there's still one in the middle down the street.
I'm well aware.
Yeah, but I think that that's a big section. I don't know if you got any feedback on that little section there, but people park there for soccer and using the field, and they cross in the street, and I've seen almost accidents numbers of times. So, I mean, maybe just signage and getting people to use crosswalks only might help, but there's definitely going to be people crossing in mid-block whether we let them or not. So anyway, that's just a factor. Thank you. Those are my questions. I really appreciate your help on this. This is a really exciting project. I'm glad to see how far it's come, and in just the short few months we've been looking at this. So thank you.
Yeah, a couple things. Gosh, when you were explaining this project, how it's been around for years and the comments and it's been dragging, I thought you were talking about 49. But you weren't. You were talking about this one. A couple things. I think I made quite a point at our last meeting when you last presented about the need to elevate the public process and the community process, and all involved did an excellent job. That second public meeting was really well done. I think the input particularly, take note in CTC when you get people talking to themselves and each other about the project instead of telling you what to do. It's just so much easier. So it was really well done, Amy, thank you. I know you guys had a big part of that, but I did make a big point of that, about how we do it differently here in Nevada City, and you responded, and I really appreciate that. It was a very high-quality meeting, and I think that it was characterized, that roundabout was well-supported. But you have to get it in your head, because that's such a big, I mean, the problem partly with mid-lane crossings and stuff is that street's so wide you got to pack a lunch to cross it. You know, the time to cross that street is just huge.
Be a little less wide.
But this would deal with a lot of that in that area and provide options. And I think is really important. It was well received, and certainly the separated bike lanes. And I, you know, the numbers are in. People that know bike lanes will tell you a segregated bike lane gets used.
And it's safer.
It's so much safer. But at any rate, I really appreciate the extra effort that you've made to do this, and you'll probably get to do it again on 49. Just so you'll be really good at it pretty soon.
Did you get that message?
Got it. Noted down.
Yeah, but thank you, really thank you. And I think the community really responded well. And that's really what we're after is, I mean, I say all the time that the idea that the five of us could understand everything that our community wants is ridiculous, even though we carry that idea forward. But if people get the chance to tell us what they need, tell us what they want in a situation where it can be really productive, you saw the results. So thank you for that, Brian. Thank you as well. I wish I felt so heard in many other areas of my life.
That's excellent to hear. I missed that meeting, but I heard about the first one and I heard about the second one, and I definitely heard a lot of positive
thank you for
feedback.
that. And I'm good, and I think it's headed in the right direction very much.
I'd like to congratulate the community in coming out to those meetings. Getting their input is really making this into a very, I think, well-designed project. I have a question about the Zion Street corridor. When we put in the bike lanes, the separated bike lanes and the sidewalk, what happens to the gardened area between the sidewalk and the street? It looks like it goes away. Is that correct?
If we preserve on-street parking on both sides of the street, that would use the full right-of-way that is out there. So most likely, yes, that would be consumed. Where there is excess right-of-way, or where we can remove some of the on-street parking and have additional width, then that would give more flexibility in the cross-section to preserve those landscaped buffers and things that really do enhance the pedestrian experience.
I do think it's worth it, but I do think that the people whose gardens will be uprooted need to be notified.
Right.
We'll have a meeting for it.
Personally.
Yeah, thank you so much for the presentation. It sounds like you've done a really good job at reaching out to the community. Just a thought, and this is more a general thought to you all as well as the city. We have lots of points or frequent points for community to touch in with the city on a multitude of topics. And it tends to be a lot of the same people that are plugged in and know what's going on and have access. And I'm just thinking about the folks over at Cashin's Fields who maybe might not be as plugged in. We've got 51 units over there and a lot of folks that are not necessarily walking or biking for recreation, but maybe more out of necessity. And just wanting to make sure that we have those voices included. I think, they have a beautiful community room over there. If you have time and capacity to do a listening session or to mimic the great one that Gary talks about in October that you had over there. I think that might be able to open up some new, just have some additional feedback. And then also just thinking about accessibility, I just want to make sure that that's integrated in the plan from the start. Of course, you've got parking protected bikeways and directional bikeways, which to me on the outside seem very accessible, and just want to make sure that we're touching in with organizations like Freed and individuals that live in the area that might be using that who are disabled. Those are my thoughts. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you. I echo everybody's sentiments about how much we appreciate the amount of outreach that there's been. I hope that continues. And Daniela's excellent point about talking to the folks at Cashin's Field. because they'll be affected by this as well. Yeah, it's frustrating how to reach the people that you haven't been able to reach. So I appreciate the amount of effort that's been going into this.
And the Cashins Fields folks, also, have a big impact in the scoring in ATP. So, there has to be some really valid input from that cohort.
It's their neighborhood. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of folks over there.
Yeah, thank you for raising that, Danielle.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll be coming back with a
More.
project proposal.
So exciting. I'm really excited about this. This really makes me happy. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks for the presentation, guys. Thanks for your work on this, really. Thanks for the great meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks to the consultant as well.
Yes.
Yes. What's her name?
Emily.
Look at this.
Emily.
Look at this guy. This is business item 13.
He's all business with that haircut.
Last item of the night, consideration of continued allowances of biochar kilns for public and private use and city parameters for pile burning on city property to explore feasibility for continued use for public and private use. Hi, Evan.
Hello, good evening, council. Honored to be in front of you tonight. Whenever we open up this conversation about burning and the use of fire in city limits or near city limits, I always like to remind the council and the community, right? We live in a fire-dependent landscape. Fire belongs on the landscape. It's part of the process, whether we like it or not. I just got back, well, I guess not back, but I had a great day trip to the North Complex with the Fire Safe Coalition. And it was reminded of that fact and the devastation that can occur when the forest and fuels are not treated properly. And we had some great presentations by local nonprofits and folks that were on the ground during those horrific events. And they really were illustrating the point that prescribed fire belongs on the landscape. Fire as a tool is a necessary step in order to get to the point where we are resilient. So just always like to open up the item with that. The staff report in front of you tonight outlines two kind of recommendations, motions to move forward. One is continued allowance of biochar kilns for public and private use. You probably remember late winter, early spring last year, we had some great pilots of the biochar kiln, one at a co-housing property that went off without a hitch. There was no public concern, no smoke complaints, things along those lines. The city also hosted their own biochar kiln workshop in the hopes that folks that were to use the biochar kilns would come to that workshop and learn how to use it properly. Which still in this packet and in this process is a parameter for folks to use it on their properties. They must attend one of those workshops. So that's why you also see the use of continued use for the city to use biochar kilns, because we would plan to have one or two more workshops to invite the public out to learn how to use those devices properly, as it is a requirement to use them on their property. So that's why you kind of have that private and public use, but also it would open it up to any city residents that would qualify in the parameters listed here to use the biochar kilns as they see after they go through the permitting process, which is quite extensive, and those parameters are listed out in that application. So that is the biochar kiln aspect of things. I will add, since then, we also had a fire as a tool workshop with the Fire Safety Advisory Committee, where we invited practitioners of prescribed fire to present on the work that they do and the necessary use of fire on the landscape. Councilmember Peterson can speak to it. He was there in attendance, but it was quite informative and kind of highlighted the steps that are required in order for use of fire on the landscape. And that second item that's in front of you is for allowing the city to use pile burning technique, not broadcasting fire on the landscape, but utilizing pile burning, which is 4x4 piles out there and listed treatments in our CWPP to burn those piles. So that's really what is in front of you tonight. You see those parameters for those the city burning on city land as part of those treatments listed in there, with the idea that the city will, see how feasible it is, see what the impacts might be, and learn from it in hopes of refining that program, not only for the city, but potentially for residents that might want to use that on their landscape, which would be probably far and few between within city limits, since we do not have very large parcels where it's kind of feasible. So With that, I'm happy to take your questions, and members of the Fire Safety Advisory Committee that sit on this council might want to speak a little bit to that Fire as a Tool workshop, and a little bit of what the Fire Safety Advisory Committee has been recommending. I will highlight the two main recommendations that come to mind within discussions from that committee. One is the price of $100 every time to put in a permit. The one community in particular, the co-housing community, was concerned a bit of that price if they were to use this device continually. And the second was making sure that there is a route as the city uses fire on our property as a tool, that it is feasible for others to possibly use it in the future for residents within the city limits. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions and hear from members of the council.
And the public.
And the public. Any public comment on this? Okay. Mr. Peterson.
Yeah, okay. Fire, yes. A lot of work has gone into this. I mean, I think it's one of the things that we recognize. There were some, historically, a couple of bad events where people used fire and didn't handle it well, and the response from the community was extreme. And I've since spoken to some of the folks who were responsible for banning all fire in Nevada City as a tool for managing land or anything else, and they conceded that it's perhaps possible that they threw the baby out with the bathwater. But I respect why they did it. I understand that, and what this has been is a learning opportunity. And as I like to explain to the Fire Safety Advisory Committee is, we're introducing this slowly, carefully, slowly, thoughtfully, with great intention about how we're using this. The biochar kiln has been a great example, where it was used three times now?
The co-housing property only used the device once, but then the city used it up at the old airport once.
At the airport,
total of two.
That's right. But the parameters that were designed in order for somebody to take a permit and use that is very, very structured, very safe, includes CAL FIRE, includes us, includes air quality. So it's just, it's not just anybody can do this. The requirements are rigorous to provide for protection and effective use of the instrument. And I think that we're there on that one, particularly as we require people to attend the workshop. So that's one of the recommendations that's in there. And I think we've covered that well. I think the other recommendation that's really important is a re-beginning of fire on the landscape. And this is primarily coming out of the Deer Creek South Side with some really steep canyons. And from day one, I knew we would have to burn down there because of the environmental degradation that could be caused by using equipment on those steep slopes and hills and erosion and everything else, and protecting Deer Creek. So this gives us an opportunity to begin to engage the community again with the use of fire on the property, carefully managed, but only city property. It's really important to understand that none of this just opens it up like it's a burn day in Nevada City. It doesn't work like that. And as I said, the biochar kilns are very tightly regulated. And I think we've got a handle on that if somebody wants to do that. And certainly Evan and his folks would be all over it. But we're going to try this one with the burn piles because just the nature of the work that we're doing, we're going to have to do more of this just to be effective with the use of our resources. And we can stay on it and do that. And then we can explore what that might mean for the larger community as we begin to work into this. But we have gone from 0 to this point in like all of our fire stuff in a very short amount of time, but we're carefully working with the community on this. The communication is very high coming out of Evan's group, something they're pretty good at. And people are understanding what we're doing and they're watching it carefully. So I think that both of these recommendations make a lot of sense. I know the Fire Safety Advisory Committee supported both of these recommendations after a long period of discussion. So that's what I got.
Thanks, Gary. Doug, do you have anything?
Yeah, I think this is just another great tool in the arsenal. We have to have a lot of tools to mitigate fire impact and, fire danger. So I think this is another tool, again, like my esteemed colleague Gary said, we've done, some pilots. We've really done, this is a really tight process. And, it has to be that way until we can structure it effectively. So, I think it's just, this is safe fire to mitigate bad fire, I think, and I think this is, I don't see any way we don't do this, especially because of the way it's been rolled out. It's been done very well. There's been a lot of, people watching this. We got air quality, we got every CAL FIRE involved. And Evan, you're doing such a great job. I appreciate your presentations. You present things so well to us, and that really helps as well. So thank you for your work, and I support this wholeheartedly.
Thank you.
I attended the first kiln demonstration. It was very impressive, and I think we should continue that. Move it forward and make it available in general. Of course, if they do the workshop first. That's very important, because you just don't pile things into a bin and then burn it. There's a structure.
Dumpster fire.
Yeah.
We got plenty of those.
I'm a little concerned about burning the piles on our city property. There are a lot of piles. We would be burning almost every day just to get through them. Do we have any idea how many times or how many days we would need to burn all those piles?
It does depend, one, on weather and the burn periods that we are allowed within those parameters. But in front of you tonight is not allowing us to go out there and burn immediately. Basically, this is just saying, moving forward, the city will be able to burn these piles. My intent would be to be back in front of you all when we have a much more clear plan of like the time period in which we hope to burn these piles. Right now, we do not have that time period because we're waiting for some more work, environmental clearance on some of the projects. But I can tell you each project has been created by a registered professional forester and the best science available with the best modeling available to prescribe that technique on that landscape. And typically with pile burning, it's not just burn one pile a day, it's burn quite a few piles in one day, and anticipate the smoke effects of that and hopefully mitigate for it. But hopefully it's not a huge long period, but sometimes it does take some time to burn those piles. And it's also important with prescribed fire to realize that the smoke is not, and the smoldering is not going to be immediately ceased. Sometimes burn piles in particular take a little bit of time to smolder, especially if there's larger hour fuels in those piles. Obviously, there would be proper monitoring and things along those lines in place. We have to put our minds in the framework that we're not doing this in fire season. This is during the shoulder seasons where typically we have more moisture and fire's not going to move on the landscape. So I can't give you a clear answer on that, but we would definitely try to limit the time periods we would be burning those piles.
Do we know how many piles we have?
At this moment, I do not know the exact. Right now, there's maybe 50 to 100 in the Deer Creek drainage area.
That's what I figured just walking through it. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm listening to the wisdom of my colleagues on the Fire Safe Advisory Committee and staff, and I have nothing new to add. Thanks.
Thanks, Daniela. So people they have to attend these presentations of sorts.
It's more than a presentation. It is a live action, fun event, I would say. I'd call it fun. And it was neat. The one workshop that the city did lead, we had quite a few folks that honestly are probably 5 out of the 10 maybe properties that would fit underneath the parameters of this that would want to use the device. So I'm fairly confident that the folks that are really wanting to pursue this have already attended a workshop.
Yeah.
But we would definitely plan to have 1 or 2 more, especially since we weren't able to do one on a weekend day last spring.
Right.
To do one on a weekend day before.
Is there thought to making these? Is this an annual thing? You're going to do
workshops?
Two workshops a year? That kind
I think
of
so.
thing?
That's a good number.
Okay.
And they are a really neat device. I recommend coming to one of the workshops.
Can you let us know when the next one is?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd love to attend.
Great. Thanks a lot, Evan, for everything you do.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do we have a motion?
Don't we have to make a recommendation of some sort?
I actually have the same question, Council. So the recommended action on the agenda indicates approve further allowance of conditions under 8.100805, which is basically burn by special permit, but there's no sunset clause in there, Evan. So what are we actually asking the council to do at this moment?
To approve the use of the biochar kilns, I mean, until otherwise. We did the pilot and the council previously did only want a one-time use. So just continued use, does that work?
So biochar kilns are not specifically listed under sub 5, so you're just asking for sort of policy approval to continue to use the biochar kiln under the special event provisions of this chapter?
Correct.
Okay, so then I don't think we need any formal resolution or modification of the ordinance for that. That could simply be policy direction from the council at this point to continue to allow those under the special event, the special burn permit section.
Sounds good to me.
But there's two parts to it.
Yes.
And the second one reads, make recommendation and approve city parameters for pile burning on city property to explore feasibility for continued use.
And it would be underneath that same special permit authorization, but this one for public health and safety. Correct, Keith?
Yeah, so I would actually recommend that if we are going to give recommendations and approve parameters, that we don't do that off the fly here for burn piling or pile burning. That this comes back to the council either in a modification of section 8 or some type of formal parameters that provide guidelines for those. And I heard Evan say you were going to come back with a more sophisticated or polished proposal. And at that time, I think we could embody it into something formal, whatever that needs to be.
Would that constitute a code change or no?
Well, it could. It just depends on how we want to incorporate those parameters and for pile burning. I mean, assuming that we need something formal that says if you are going to apply for a burn pile or a pile burning permit, that you must do X, Y, and Z. We have to include those somewhere. So we can talk about it offline. I don't think it's something that the council's as far as the second one, I think we need to bring back to the council some specific parameters and how to embody those parameters formally. As to the first, I think the council can give general direction to continue to allow biochar kiln under sub 5 of 8.10.080.
And you did indicate you'd be bringing back a plan for the burn and bring it all back together, and that makes a lot of sense.
And yeah, I think tonight too, the biggest takeaway for staff is to know that there's kind of consensus around the council to move forward, since we do have this list in prescriptions for our projects. That way we can make sure everything else is in place and, you know, continue the planning we're already doing, but to make sure that it can be approved by the time we need to implement it.
Yeah. I can certainly get behind approving the biochar. I can't make a recommendation until I see the parameters on the second part.
Fair enough. Yeah. So you have direction, and you're going to come back with the rest of the stuff.
Correct.
We're done.
Thanks, Evan.
Easy enough.
Thanks, Dean.
Of course.
Appreciate it, Evan.
Thanks, Evan.
Good to see you.
Great work as always.
Reports and future agenda items. Joan, do you want to start us off?
Sure. My report this evening is pretty short. I just wanted to comment that this is the only meeting scheduled in November due to Thanksgiving, and that we only have one meeting in December. And that meeting is on a different day than normal, so that the public is aware. It will be on December the 11th, due to Victorian Christmas being on our regular meeting date of December 10th. And speaking of Victorian Christmas, that's coming up. Obviously, everybody knows about Victorian Christmas. This year on Sundays, it will be on the 7th.
Everybody knows about it.
The 7th, the 14th, and the 21st. The Wednesday dates are the 10th and the 17th. Other than that, things are going well. I'm pleased with the direction that we're going in and at a staff level and coordinating the various things that have been out there for a while, and we're keeping those moving forward. So I'm happy with that. Hope you are too.
You're happy, we're happy.
That's good.
that
That's
true?
my report.
Yes.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
Thanks,
You
Joan.
better check with the rest of my council.
Generally speaking.
What do you got, Gary?
Let's see. I had the great pleasure of attending a magnificent concert recently at the Nevada Theater. Councilmember Cece was there. In fact, there were so many people there that people were questioning us about Brown Act violations. I pointed out to them that we always have exceptions for ceremonial occasions.
And neither of us were singing.
And no, we were not singing, nor were we discussing business. In fact, we were sitting on opposite sides of the theater. But we were both faced forward in a riveting concert of acoustic music that was really quite nice.
Golden Shoulders.
Golden Shoulders.
Excellent.
Our very own Golden Shoulders. So that, I got to do that. That was fun. As you can see, I've been attending a few meetings here and there on public meetings. But I did want to say that that bicycle meeting was really well done.
Yeah.
I mean, they really heard us and they really stepped up.
That's a high compliment coming from you.
No, I mean, it was well done. And I think that's, let's see, that's what I got. I'll just leave it there.
Thanks, Gary. What do you got, Doug?
I got nothing.
All right, Daniela.
Want to thank the town of Truckee and the County of Nevada and Grass Valley for joining us at our joint session at the Miners Foundry not too long ago. I don't know, was that last week? Was that the week before? What is time? Thank you for coming into our territory and bearing with us, getting our legs in a new space and navigating all the technical glitches. I want to note that mine and Adam's Economic and Community Development Committee was canceled this month, but we are looking to meet next month. It'll be Monday, December 8th at 6 o'clock in this room. Come join us. We'll have a few things on the agenda, more to come on that. And I think that's all I got.
Awesome. Thanks, Daniela. Mr. Vice Mayor.
Just like to say, to start with, that between travel and illness, I haven't seen you guys for a month, and I missed you.
I know.
It's really fun to be back here working on city stuff with you guys.
Nice.
Let's
run for office again.
On October 15th, I attended the Solid and Hazardous Waste meeting, and I would like to point out 3 things from that might be stuff for us to look into. Only, according to Waste Management, only 81 seniors from the city have applied for the senior discount.
Why is that?
I think we need to publicize it more. Perhaps we ought to push it in the next newsletter.
How easy is the process to do it?
It's terrible. It's terrible. And then in addition to that, when you do get your 35-gallon bin, it can be mislabeled and say that cannot allow food waste. I pointed this out to them. They seemed surprised and they said, "Oh, are there any others?" And I said, "I wouldn't know. I'm not giving them out." I found 3 within a 1-block radius of my own home. So we need to get on to Waste Management and make them change those labels so that people know that they can put food waste in their refuse bins if they live within city limits.
They can or can't?
They can.
Thank you.
They can it.
And we can actually make Waste Management change their ways? I'm sorry.
No
Change their
comment.
ways, maybe, not their prices.
I couldn't possibly comment. And finally, during that meeting, someone from Truckee pointed out that they have an interactive map that shows where there are public water bottle filling stations. I think that would be a great idea for us. I'm not sure that people know that we have public water.
Do we have?
Do we have public water?
That's what I wanted to know.
I believe there is one
There's one
in
the-
Pioneer
City Hall.
Park.
What?
Yeah, there is one in Pioneer Park.
Yeah.
I was going to say Whitney Springs doesn't count.
But they posted
not in
the
our
E.
territory.
coli notice.
That's different water, sir.
They
Different
did
water.
post an E. coli notice next to the water fountain, and people were like, "Oh man, I can't drink this water." And I'm going, "No, wait."
Yeah. Well, anyway, I think it would be a good idea. The Chamber of Commerce cooperated with the construction union, I forget what the name of it is. Contractors Association to spruce up the old Las Catrinas front. I think it looks great.
That's fantastic.
And one of the reasons I wasn't able to be with you most of the month was because I was in Mexico with the Rotary, Nevada City Breakfast 49er Rotary, looking at projects done out of the San Miguel de Allende Rotary Club. And it is amazing what they are accomplishing out in the Campo. empowering women to build their own water catchment cisterns, delivering female hygiene kits, and educating girls to have the power to control their own bodies. These are things that give me hope when I see those women being lifted up in the communities, knitting together because of it. There are good things happening in the world. Perhaps not here, but elsewhere.
Oh, there's good things here.
Thanks, Lou. Joan mentioned Victorian Christmas, and I was just thinking about last year how I saw a lot of locals grumbling about Victorian Christmas. And I understand the frustration parking-wise and just how crowded town gets. But as someone who used to own a downtown business, a lot of these businesses that we love would not exist without Victorian Christmas. So I would urge everyone to be good hosts for the weekend Victorian Christmases, and on Wednesdays, locals should pile into town and enjoy themselves, because Victorian Christmas is fun for everybody, but it'll probably be most fun for us locals on the Wednesdays when out-of-towners are less likely to show up. But it is a blessing on our community and should be treated as such.
I agree, and I would like to say, I agree with everything you said, and I think for me, the grumble comes at I'm not an anxious person, for those of you who know me, but I get anxious around Victorian Christmas because of the safety concerns. And so for me, we just have to be on our A game as it concerns safety and parking and lighting and speed as we're driving away and all of that stuff. That's the only part that gives me pause. I think last year we saw 70,000 people come through to Victorian Christmas, and I think, per staff's statement last year, that's our cap.
That's it. That's it.
Oh,
It
and
seemed
speaking,
like it. Yeah,
speaking of lighting, the new lights up to the Broad Street Y look wonderful.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Throw some bumps up there.
One more thing, the Public Arts Commission has announced the next event in our gallery here, that the Champ Gallery at City Hall will be.
What is the theme, Mayor?
Well, it's the year of advanced music appreciation. So they're looking for visual artists to do work inspired by Nevada City music, whether that's musicians, venues, song lyrics turned into visual art. Very exciting. The due date for those pieces is November 28th. You can go to the city website to submit, and I hope you do. It doesn't cost you anything, and I'm hoping for an amazing looking hallway as we walk into this room.
And a collage of Golden Shoulders album covers.
Back off, man. That's what I got. I appreciate you guys. I'm looking for a motion in a second.
I move that we adjourn.
And second, yeah.
Fernandez,
Nice work,
Peterson.
council. Thank you, staff.
Thank you.